3 years changes since the last time we chatted, and you have produced what you regard the latest album as the best you've created. Still stand with that kind?
Partly. I mean, I always get out of that when I've said that by saying it was the best work we could have created at that time.
Okay, but a little distance beyond the claims, you still feel it, or are you what you're currently?
You see, it's very. I get very caught up in. I think I've always suffered from, or if you want to view it like that, of a desire to get on to the next thing pretty rapidly after.
Right.
I don't really bask in any afterglow. I like getting on to new things.
So how do you sustain the passion then for continually singing them in gigs? Is that a different process?
Well, you just stop singing them in gigs for a while and forget that you ever got tired of them, and then it's okay again.
All right. But didn't you also say that you're going to maybe the next set of songs will have a more linear, more kind of personal dimension to them?
They're character songs. They're just more. I think we as a band are more involved with what we're doing at the moment. I think our lives just went so. There was such a sort of a change for us all when we were making The Great Escape.
Right.
I mean,
what you mean on personal?
Well, I mean, we made a record in the centre of London at a time when British pop music was becoming very interesting, and everyone was getting very excited about it. And the Brits was kind of our entree into the world of tabloid fervour.
Okay.
And so we just sort of we made that album during the day, went out and met very famous people at night, and read about ourselves in the morning.
Okay.
For about 2 months while making that record, and I think everyone got quite sort of detached from what they were actually doing, and
from the music.
Yeah, and I think what happened was I ended up putting lots of things on, like brass arrangements and strings, to try and glue it all back.
Give it coherence to it. Okay.
All right. And I think now that isn't. I mean, at the moment, it's blissful because we actually spent a few weeks playing together, and we haven't got other musicians involved. We're playing everything ourselves, and everyone's involved with. You can just hear that everyone's involved again.
Right.
And it's nice, but I mean
it's a different dynamic.
It's totally different, but it's come back because we're one of these bands that tend to go to the brink and then pull ourselves back up again and produce better work.
But you're still in the eye of the storm in terms of tabloid life and all.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, the first time that this happened to us was after our first album. I mean, it's me here sitting about to play to 40,000 people there and saying I was on the brink,
That's what that means. That could be emotionally.
It is emotionally, exactly. That's what it is, and I know that. Unless that's put in the correct way by the journalist, it comes across in a really bad way. But because
no, but you did say too, and I want to ask you about the music on the album. You said that some of it came out of panic attacks, that maybe it might have been post. A little or a lot of cocaine use?
Not a lot for a little period.
All right. But what was that? Was this your way of dealing with being in the centre of the storm? Or was that...
No, because I started getting the panic attacks when Part Life came out.
Okay.
I'd taken the cocaine... I'd stopped taking cocaine by the time Part Life came out. So I've never taken cocaine while... I was successful.
All right.
So it's nothing to do with that. Retro panic, definitely.
No, but do you think there is an emotional reality to that this can happen?
I don't think, actually, to be honest with you,
I don't think the
cocaine had lots to do with it. I think it's far more emotional panic.
From what though? From this attention, from being expected to be on.
I think it's the desire to get somewhere was so strong in me that once I did, I just was in turmoil because I didn't know what on earth I was doing, because I wasn't fighting anymore. Everyone said I was great. I don't really know why.
The energy of the struggle.
It was. Yes, it caught up with me.
Yeah, but it's not just you wanted to get somewhere. You've always wanted. I mean, you want to be the band at the turn of the century. You want to be the best. You want to, you want to write the best songs. You want the cultural resonance, as we talked about last time. They're internal pressures, surely.
Yeah, I still want that, but you know, I did realise that the way we were going towards, you know, after Country House came out, and it all went on to it went into another gear which I didn't really anticipate too much. I obviously wanted to up the ante, but I didn't quite realise it was going to do what it did.
Right.
But it all went stupid then. I mean, for a couple of weeks, the whole country had nothing better to talk about than us two bands. But you see, the difference between us and Oasis, that Oasis delivered with Roll With It. They delivered what they were. There's no ambiguity. They arrived at that pinnacle of attention with their whole character intact. They were the lads, the hard lads from Manchester, and we just put our Periscope up. You know, that was Country House, just another one of our little ideas. It wasn't the whole of Blur. You know, their submarine, their whole bloody army was up there, and that's why they did so well out of it. You know?
When we last talked, we talked about cartoon radicalism in rock and roll behaviour and the codes that kind of sends out to a lot of fans. And you talked of how negative you thought it was in relation to Nirvana or maybe Guns N' Roses. I can't remember.
Well, I think it's happening again. You know?
But do you feel that? And is that? And I don't even want to ask. I don't want it to be an Oasis interview at all. Do you have any objections to the codes they are selling?
Yes,
which is
totally.
Do the drugs, shag anyone you can, fuck everybody.
Of course I do. Of course I do.
Because you don't like that tendency.
Yeah, right, you see that was another reason why we had to sort of reorganise what we were about, because we were getting dragged into that as well. And it's like, and I started behaving like that because that was not the Part Life was not Modern Life's Rubbish and Part Life and Great Escape, which are all together. And if Great Escape had been put out before Part Life, it would have been viewed as a far artier album in the end than it has been. But it's just because it was expected to be a 10 million seller. I mean, the fact that it's sold 2.5 million is, by my, originally is remarkable, really. But
is there any tension within the band? That I know you said recently that you and Graham are relatively clean and the others are not, maybe, just in terms of excess. Is there a tension in the band? Is that a misreading of the?
I think that was only an issue while we were trying to get. It's no longer an issue because everyone's concentrating on their music again.
And how do you feel you have to now redefine yourselves in the light of just the Oasis and the Britpop experience, which has become a bit jaded, and a lot of people are now looking at the sexism in it, looking at the laddishness and all this stuff, and saying, wait, now what is being sold here right throughout?
I know.
I mean, so
I feel very responsible in some respects, but when we did the video for Country House with Damien Hirst, on paper that was everything that I'd been kind of preaching, was sort of that idea that you could get bright young artists and bright young musicians and make something that was really of its own, and all it did was to pick up the zeitgeist of laddism, and we had page-free models in it.
Yeah.
I didn't even know at the time that we had page-free models. The only time I found out that we had soft porn models in it was the second day of shooting, when one of the lampists brought in a club and stuck it out and said, there it is, the giant guest.
Right. Are you very aware of that?
I mean, I know that's very naive, but that's the truth, and what we came out with was this sort of this ode to lad culture, and it was Damien Hirst and Blur, which should have been something fucking arty and great that got to #1, but it all.
What was perceived as this ode to laddism? What song, the album?
No, but that particular moment, that's when that lad culture, Country House was nearly sold 1 million singles in a few weeks because of the attention. It was ridiculous.
So how do you pull back from that now, and how do you not let
Not that the song was anything to do with that. I mean, it was
I don't think so. I didn't see that. No, just by association of time, not content or context.
Yeah.
So, but how do you pull back from that, redefining your own attitude to women? Have you laddish tendencies you have to control?
Yes.
Most accommodating in lingerie. I mean, that's fun.
I know.
They view it as
you can view it all like that. I mean, it's the sort of. Yeah, I know. It's confusing because I've got really into and know Irving Welsh now, and the more I've read his books, the more I've realised that we've got quite a lot in common in the sense that we kind of really slag off everyone.
All right, right.
And I'm quite, especially his new book, which is it's like, it's just relentless pornography and violence.
But do you have those tendencies? I mean, you like watching violent videos on tour buses, and are you sexist? Do you have to control?
I don't think I'm that. I mean, I'm very lucky living with Justine,
She keeps you in check at that level.
She's just a ridiculously bright and strong girl who can handle a lot of the kind of lad things, but I don't. I think having someone like that, someone like that doesn't live with someone like me unless I'm fairly okay.
Right. Okay.
They wouldn't put up with me. If I was a real sexist.
Do you love her?
Yeah, I do.
Do you love women? Or is that a naive question? It's almost like abstraction.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
I do. I love women a lot more than I used to.
Yeah. Why did you not? Was any of your attitude towards them affected by fame? No. But why did you not?
Fame.
Or the availability of, or the fact that they were there. The paper tissue attitude to women you often see exhibited by rock stars. Was that?
Yes, it is difficult. I think the only problem is I'm prepared to talk about it, but it gets taken out of context and used in the Sun as
that's the
bizarre. Andy Coulson, does. And what's the point of me talking about it? I'm quite prepared to talk about it, but it just at the end the end result is a very crap piece in the Sun, which then gets read by my gran.
Okay. But it's a pity that they should dictate terms, because the fans we've talked about how fans are buying what you're selling at whatever level, and I think they could benefit. Now I understand what you're saying, and I understand why you probably won't answer the question, but I would appreciate if you could answer it in the most guarded manner, you know what I mean, which will cut off the Sun.
I think being a lad has, and I'm talking about all the aspects of it now.
All right.
A lot of them made me very confused and unhappy, and I've checked myself before I've gone too far down that line. The only thing I've really got out of it is that I've rekindled my a love of playing football, and just that is all I really want to get out of it.
Okay, so why did you not love women as much then, or even when you were much younger? What is that reflective of?
Oh, I can't. I don't really want to go into it, because it's not. I mean, nothing to do with my family. It's nothing like that. I just.
But were you capturing a tendency of your own time?
I think just a general kind of shyness, and that sort of thing.
Which translated into dislike. Which can happen. I mean, that's how it can manifest itself.
It's not. I never hated women or was anything like that.
I can see why you have to be careful on those kind of questions, but I still think it's important that your fans know how you've evolved, and especially with this suggestion saying that the next album will be us or me being more personal. Maybe I'll write about this kind of stuff.
I will.
You know what I mean?
I will write about all the things which I can't really talk about in
interviews.
Yes.
It's because of that tabloidisation of whatever you say. That's a fucking pain in the arse, really, in terms of communication, but it's true.
It is. You can write about it in books. If I wrote a book, I could write about it all. It's just something about the medium of talking to a journalist.
All right.
It's something very weird. If you don't write it down yourself, and if you don't put it in the first person and you write it down. I mean, yes, I could talk to you now about somebody else who was me, and that would be okay. But to actually, it just ends up being really crap at the end. At the end of the sort of. The ecological cycle.
But I mean, what we did...
Actually, Andy Coulson, it's a bit lower than that. But,
is it? No, but last time, and this is what I think you're attempting to do in your songs, and I think your songs do, and I think your popularity reflects, you capture the tendencies of your time. And I think you're very aware of, if you do that by accident, you are reflecting something of Britain, of a particular maybe style of nationalism. Last time you described yourself to me as a discerning cultural chauvinist. So to me, you're capturing tendencies that are really important. And when in 10 years, people look back on your work, they will want to know, and what you reflected at the time would probably be the most important thing about the band. I would imagine.
I understand that. It's just it is difficult at the moment because.
But you will be able to write about it.
Yeah, and I hate not being able to talk candidly about sexuality and all of that because I have no problem with it.
All right.
But you know, it's just I just want to go for a little period when I don't have to deal with aunts ringing me up.
All right. Well, okay, fair enough. Sounds very Irish too.
It's as domestic as that. It will.
But when you see other people, I mean, do you want to grab other people who go on endlessly about rock and roll?
I mean, everyone's gone through it. I mean, the person that the only person I really cared about out of the whole lot of them was Jarvis.
Right.
And I think, you know, he's very bright as well. He's got to realise that all that stuff, the stuff with Michael Jackson is just any good, you know. Yes.
Did you understand his he seemed to be his impulse? You know what I mean?
I totally understand his impulse. I just know that he's only one record that's sort of done well in Britain. I mean, he's got a long way to go before he'll be able to. You know, if he wants to make more music, he's got to be careful because.
Okay. They can take you down just as quickly.
The whole thing with Michael Jackson is that, yes, he was totally right, but Michael Jackson is mental, in my opinion, and should never, ever have been allowed to, should not be allowed to do what he's doing. Should not.
But Jarvis jumped up and responded against this selling himself as a Christ-like figure.
It's really difficult because children's perception is so very different
than how we might see it.
Yeah, completely different. I mean,
but isn't that potentially damning? Because they were by the innocence.
I don't think he should have been allowed. I thought I was round the corner having a curry, going, I'm not going to the Brits this year.
All right. Well, that's the same thing as jumping up in the stage.
Yes, it is.
Isn't it?
It doesn't get press,
No, you don't want it. No, but that aspect, I mean, you can understand why he would have responded that way. And I do understand,
but other things like getting involved with, he's learning how to stay away from that tabloid side of things.
All right, he is learning.
Yes.
But his desire to be accepted is you know, he's older and it's gone on longer.
Oh, I know.
And I've talked with him, and you feel the fire of his desire to be out there and for the work to be accepted. But I mean,
but that's what I'm saying. He's got to make sure his work's accepted, not the character. It's a cartoon character that he's creating, and I know that he doesn't really want that. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
No one wants that, really. I mean, no one's happy with being a cartoon.
Well, it undermines the work.
Monster.
It undermines the work eventually, particularly if you start presenting cartoon songs, which I think you and I talked about before too.
Yeah.
Just the kind of codes that are kind of written about in rock and roll are just end up being totally tissue, you know. So I'm looking at my watch to get to. Do you listen to?
I'm sorry about that.
No, I understand. I have a quote. Did you read the Whippet Boy quote about your work?
No.
Last time, I remember we were talking about the cultural chauvinism, the danger of, and I think we may have talked, and I've certainly written about it elsewhere, that Irish artists, as they step out of the shadow of maybe Britain and Rome, could be becoming cultural chauvinists.
Yeah.
And Whipping Boy, you know the band, no?
Vaguely. Yeah.
Okay. He just said that his music is doggedly Irish boot in the face of they call Britpop these days, with smart-ass groups like Blur rhyming Balzac with Prozac and all else that hasn't been said before.
Well, what do I say about that?
Yeah, the suggestion that it's all poses and insubstantial. I don't think he was saying it just to get you. I felt political anger at the root. He's written a very Dublin working class,
it's working class. It's another. It's very typical working class reaction, which is anything that's vaguely articulate should be shouted down because it doesn't. It's not real. It's not authentic, and that is a cultural norm at the moment. And then I am from being really sort of right in there and accepted to being not accepted. I mean, being the kind of, the fact is I've got a lot of support still, but if within the kind of sort of the Camden intelligentsia,
you do have that.
No, I don't.
Well, you don't have
that support because they've, whether they like it or not, they're all sort of pro the kind of non-literate working class. All the working class people I know despise that idea of no, I haven't. I mean, no, there was a thing in the Melody Maker Room. How many books have you read? None. And I mean, the lovely thing about Liam is that it was a Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe. That's why I've always liked Liam. I mean, whatever you think of him, God bless him, whatever it is that's going on in his head, you know, but, you know, Noel is none, you know, it's like none. I mean, for me, that is,
But that's what, a bullshit statement, a pose.
it's a pose, isn't it?
A working class ignorance.
But he has read books, you know, it's that. It's, for me, that he might as well be saying that about them, you know, but that at the moment is kind of sort of, they're encouraging people not to read books, not to have any real opinions on anything, to call girls birds and spend lots of money and
that every girl I need is gagging for it.
Exactly, and that's an assumption. I mean, there's some stories which are not ever going to get into the press, which
about manifestations of that attitude.
Yes.
Well, I think
Really
it's a devastatingly horrid.
it is
retro,
horrid. It is horrid. It is retro. It's actually so retro that God knows what can follow from it.
But what does it say to you then when a lot of fans are buying what they're selling maybe more than what you're selling?
Oh well, that's
what
the
does
case
it, you know,
at the moment.
Is that what you think? Because I don't think it's a question of they're buying this music more than that music.
Yeah.
It's a whole fucking.
Oh, totally. You're right.
And what does it say to you of audiences now who you know, I'm not comparing a single with a single or an album with an album, but who seem to those who go more for that? What does that tell you of 1996 in Ireland, Britain, the world?
I think there's a vast drug-related lethargy.
All right.
Far wider than any statistic will ever give you.
And what? That this is what they're, by buying all that, it's reflecting how they are.
Yeah, how we all are, or as it always does.
Okay.
I think
this is the post-T, post-Coke, post-using E generations.
yes. Well, this is the use absolutely bloody everything generation.
Right.
You know.
And that's why they're buying these tendencies, within the music and within the whole package, you think?
Well, I think for however many people to go to Nebworth 2 days sold out, to actually sit in a field and actually see very little, no movement, no real anything on stage.
Like intellectual movement, spiritual movement, those things.
Well, I'm sure there'll be some. I can't write off the spiritual because the fact of it is that there will be that presence of people all off their face is a far spiritual thing in however you view it.
Okay.
But you know, it will isolate people ultimately if it gets too, you know. I mean, the scariest thing for me was when I saw something on MTV which was a slow, really lovely black slow-mo of the Beatles with Oasis played over the top.
Why?
Well, you can't see how sinister that is.
Okay, all right. But you obviously feel these things.
I mean, that for me is pretty sinister. You know, you've got MTV. You know, it's got that iconography and just using another.
Yeah, well, actually, I think John Lennon. Well, John Lennon had his misogynistic and his dark tendencies at that level. He mightn't, but I think a lot of the Beatles would object, should object, or could object to that kind of stuff.
They do. They do. I mean, I don't think they're because they're far too mature to go on. But I think George Harrison's not very pleased with it all.
Yeah. You obviously feel these things deeply. Is this what you're going to be writing about in the new songs?
Not that specifically, but definitely about the kind of drug lethargy. Definitely. I mean, I'm part of it. You know, I appreciate it. I understand it. I sometimes dabble with it, but only as a way of finding extra knowledge, not.
Yeah.
No, I know it's a very fine line.
Yeah. But it's also, you're almost feeding into, you won't get the spiritual enlightenment, you won't get better songs, better art unless you follow that.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? But, you know, I think that's the power of
But you believe that? You're saying that is probably true, do you?
No, I think it's only. I don't believe. I've never believed in saying I am right.
Okay.
You know, and the only thing that makes me want to keep doing things is that I'm not right, and that I need to learn more about everything. You know, it's not about. I mean, you know, and we're not talking about being on the cover of the NME here. We're talking about. I mean, I have to live within the confines of that world. But you know, what I'm talking about is my vague little passage through my lifetime.
Are you going to go? I suppose the obvious question I have to ask you at the end is: are you going to marry, have kids, and all that? Is that the next step into the wider world to get away from this?
I don't know really. I think. I don't think people really should have too many kids.
Why?
I mean, my sister's just had one, and I can't imagine the world without the new child that's been brought into my life. You know,
right.
So it's not a case of not feeling that attachment to blood and all of that. I just think. We just got to calm down, you know, but not.
Who's we?
All of us.
Not just the band, and not just
no,
you.
No. We.
All right.
We as.
And a little more learning to do.
A little more.
Okay.
We.
Absolutely. It's cosmic consciousness we're talking about here.